is going on, YouTube? And I hope you enjoyed that intro. I know I enjoyed making the intro, and I certainly enjoyed filming the intro. Now, with Halloween having just recently passed us, I'm sure there's at least half of us waking up Saturday or Sunday morning thinking we will never drink again. And let's be honest, that's probably not true for most people thinking this. But I'm here to give you a kind of roadmap for actualizing that fact that fun is never really going to stop presenting itself to you. You just have to get better at picking and choosing when you're going to kind of go off the stray path and let loose and have a little fun, like on Halloween, my personal favorite drinking holiday, Cinco de Mayo, St. Patrick's Day, 4th of July, New Year's Eve, Blackout Wednesday, my least favorite drinking holiday because I love Thanksgiving and would not want to be hungover on Thanksgiving. Instead, I celebrate the plunder on Black Friday night, having the Blackout Friday. But I digress. So instead of, your Andrew Huberman, your Mike Israetel from Renaissance Periodization, or Greg Doucette telling you alcohol is pretty much an absolute no-go in a very factual way, and really just putting it all out there, which I think is good, and I'm going to link all those videos in the description below because they taught me a lot, along with research I did pretty much since I started drinking in 2021. Because I'd been lifting before I started drinking and wanted to know how it would affect my gains. I used to have a really external goal, like I really just wanted to look good. I don't really care about what it did inside, but it was a big topic for me to do a lot of research on over time, various articles, and a whole lot of anecdotal experience as well throughout 2021 to now. That's 4 years of drinking and still lifting, and I had 4 years of lifting before I started drinking. And I would say that I am significantly bigger and stronger now after those 4 years of drinking than I was during the 4 years of drinking. But that's not the case for everybody. I had to learn how to navigate the world of drinking as it goes, not so hand in hand with health and athletics. Another big component is that for adults, there's only really 5 ways to meet new people and socialize conveniently. And that's through work, number 1, or school, number 2, like if you're in college or whatever. And then beyond that, you really have church, the gym, and then some sort of drinking events, like going out to the bar, going to concerts, Carnival cruise or something like that, the beach. There aren't a whole lot of ways for adults to socialize and meet new people without drinking involved. So you have to get good at accommodating your routine and doing damage control. That's what me, a seasoned gym bro, is here to help you do. So before I get into the tips and tricks and the methodology behind being a gym bro or gal that's kind of letting loose after a full week of training and just blitzing on the weekends, I'm going to lay out all the scientific, kind of the bummer stuff really briefly. Now, what's really important to know is that all of this that I'm about to lay out for you is true to some degree. How much it affects you depends on a couple things: how much you drink, whether that's like frequency or like intensity. So are you drinking a moderate amount every single day and so the damage is stacking up over time? Or do you drink maybe once a month, but it is like a freaking crazy like dump truck amount of alcohol, like 20 plus drinks once a month or every other week or something? You're going a long time without drinking, but when you do drink, you might as well have been drinking the whole time because of how much damage you're going to do. That's frequency and intensity, and how well you are genetically suited for handling alcohol. Other factors like sleep leading up to drinking bouts, exercise and diet leading up to drinking bouts, and just how naturally healthy you are. So if you are with or without certain genetic diseases or dispositions already. So let's go over the bad news first. So first and foremost, alcohol obviously damages your liver. it is a big factor in increasing your risk for liver cancer. It worsens sleep. Now for me, this was one part that I really struggled accepting to be true, because sometimes I would get better sleep from drinking alcohol, and we can also get into that. So alcohol is a sedative, it winds you down, but like many sedatives, it decreases the quality of your sleep. So you can drift off into sleep a lot easier with alcohol, but not only is your quality of sleep decreased, but also you stay at a higher risk of waking up and being able to fall back asleep. And that's a problem that I have struggled with. I can stay up all night, or stay up till pretty late hours of the night, drinking with the gang, and then wake up at the same time I normally would instead of sleeping in and not being able to fall back asleep, and then I'm super tired and shot for the rest of the day, even though I did experience some dreams, which is a marker of REM sleep. So I do get REM sleep when I drink alcohol, but it's just less REM sleep, and I do not get the same amount of sleep. And when you are out drinking, most people stay up later than they usually do drinking, and the consistency of when you are going to bed and waking up is pretty important to the quality of your sleep, as well as your body's natural way of producing growth hormone. You're interrupting both of those by changing the wake up and going to sleep time because of your drinking habits. And then lastly, like I said, I often wake up and cannot fall back to sleep after bouts of drinking, whether that's because I really have to go to the bathroom after a full night of drinking, or just the cortisol rhythm in my body is disrupted by alcohol, which does spike your cortisol with large amounts. So for my bodybuilders, excessive drinking or any drinking is kind of bad news. That's going to be a big theme of this video, which Andrew Huberman also talks about in his alcohol video, and that is that no alcohol is better than any alcohol, and less alcohol is always better than more alcohol. And that is true. But I'm making this video with the fact that people are going to drink anyway, so you might as well be equipped with some bro science. But anyway, for my bodybuilders, drinking interrupts protein synthesis. It inhibits it. And there are two factors to that too. There are how close to your workout you are drinking and how much you are drinking. So both of those are going to be factors that play a role. The closer after your workout to drinking, the more damage it's going to do, the more your protein synthesis is going to be inhibited. And the more large amount you drink, the more that's going to do some atrophic damage to your muscles. And for my power lifters, you're not off the hook either, because alcohol does kill neurons. You need that neuron activation to press those heavy singles, and if you're hungover, you are going to have a awful training session the next day. Your form will likely go, and you are going to be way more tired, so you don't have the proper stimulus doing that heavy weight. And obviously with the dead neurons, you aren't recruiting as many muscle fibers for those heavy singular reps. So it has something to take away from both bodybuilders and powerlifters. And let's not forget that if you're on a cut, alcohol does have calories. It has 7 calories per gram of alcohol, which is 3 grams or 3 calories more than proteins and carbs, and 2 calories less per gram than fat. And that's liquid calories, so those are calories you're not really feeling as quickly, satiating yourself or making you feel full. And in fact, for most people, alcohol increases their appetite and dulls the part of their brain that resists snacks. So a lot of people will put on weight simply by snacking along with the drinks. If they would have just stuck to the drinks, they may have been all right, but they were perhaps door dashing food after a long night out, perhaps picking some up, hopefully not at a dangerous alcohol level for driving, or eating food at the bar, or the peanuts, or snacks at the party, maybe throwing in a microwave pizza. A lot of people are making those mistakes while they're drinking, and we will get into a solution for that too. But the last thing I want to talk about how drinking affects people who are cutting is when you're cutting, when you're leaner, when you're at a lower body fat percentage, and when you have less in your system from the day leading up to a drinking bout, that alcohol is going to hit you much harder. It's going to hit the system, and you're going to get a lot drunker a lot quicker and increase risk of blacking out quickly, especially if you're taking shots. Alcohol messes with your hormones by lowering testosterone and increasing estrogen. That's a big problem for fellas, and that is why over time a lot of fellas put on that beer gut and have like the moobs from drinking so much, because their testosterone is lowered and their estrogen is increased, and the estrogen makes fat latch on to the male body a lot more. Now, for the most part, what I've led with are sheerly aesthetic repercussions of drinking alcohol. Now we have the more serious cons of alcohol, and that is that alcohol is a class 1 carcinogen, and it increases your risk for any type of cancer because it lowers, this is something Andrew Huberman talks about, and he explains it way better than me, so go check out the video. In fact, I learned a great deal from Andrew Huberman, and he's a personal hero of mine, but we're not glazing Andrew Huberman, we're talking about alcohol. And so the big problem with alcohol is that it both lowers your body's ability to fight cancer and feeds cancer what it likes to have to keep growing. So it's a double whammy, drinking and cancer. And drinking especially increases your risk for liver cancer, as I mentioned previously, but also esophageal cancer, cancer of the esophagus, throat cancer, and for the ladies and some misfortunate fellas, breast cancer. It largely increases the risk, especially for those 4 cancers. It increases inflammation, so if you struggle with autoimmune issues or joint pain, or even muscular pain, then alcohol is going to make that a little bit worse, especially in large doses. That's important because a couple drinks might initially actually numb the pain. I remember when I was having neck pain leading up to my powerlifting meet, I would actually have 2 drinks the night before the powerlifting meet so I could fall asleep because my neck pain was so bad. And then after the powerlifting meet, I also had a couple drinks because the light buzz took the pain away a little bit, but had I kept drinking, gradually that would have increased the pain because, like I said, it's frequency and intensity. I wasn't having a high intensity alcohol exposure, and I didn't have a lot of frequency either. It was just 2 times light buzz, but a lot of frequency will start to stack some joint pain and muscle pain and just overall inflammation in the body. And a high frequency, so had I got blackout drunk and had like 9 to 20 drinks, I would have been extremely sore all over the next day because of the systemic inflammation that I would have suffered from that drinking bout. Alcohol also dehydrates you, which I'm going to give you some methods around that problem. And finally, it destroys your body's microbiomes because it does kill cells in a lot of living creatures. Your body is full of microbiomes, which are little buddies in your body, either helping out or not helping you out. So alcohol can kill bad bacteria that is involved with getting you sick, but it also weakens your immune system and kills the good bacteria. So it's kind of it's a trade. Not a fair trade, not an unfair trade, it's just a trade. But it also kills your microbiomes, like your throat and esophagus microbiome, which is how it increases risk for those respective cancers, and your gut microbiome, and we'll talk about ways around that in a bit. Alright, so now that we got the bad news out of the way, I'm going to hit you guys with some workarounds, some solutions, some tips and tricks, including how to naturally detox your body and cure a hangover, a method that I actually discovered and enacted upon myself through various years of training and learning. And I'm going to take each of the cons and introduce ways that you can mitigate damage. Never completely avoid it because, like we said at the beginning of the video, no alcohol is obviously going to be better than any alcohol. But that isn't very realistic for many of us. So, to begin, you can get away with more both in your liver and in your, appearance and your overall, like, how you feel with drinking. You can get away with more drinking if the rest of your diet is pristine, minimally processed, whole foods, some good proteins, getting all of your vitamins and that being your, the proteins you're getting, vegetables, fruits, make sure you're getting enough fiber, not a whole lot of processed sugar. In fact, try to stay away from as much processed sugar and processed carbs as possible. Try to avoid your nitrates, because like a lot of people don't know this, but having an excess sugar that you're not putting to use through rigorous exercise is also bad for your liver, just like alcohol is. So just make sure that you have a clean diet like 6 days of the week, so that when you do decide to go out and let loose drinking a bit, that you're not doing cataclysmic damage to your liver, gut, and the rest of your body. Liver damage. A good supplement you can take to mitigate liver damage after drinking bouts and during drinking bouts is a supplement called milk thistle. I take milk thistle from Dr. Mercola. It comes imbued with a NAC supplement, which I take. This is not a sponsorship. I'm not sponsored or affiliated with Dr. Mercola in any way. That's just the brand I take. And I feel really good in the subsequent days following a drinking bout, even a heavy drinking bout now. And that isn't just because of the NAC with milk thistle supplement from Dr. Mercola, but I definitely think it plays a role, and there's a lot of evidence to support milk thistle's benefits to the liver. Now, the second way we can help mitigate some liver damage is by drinking less and picking and choosing your battles. And we are going to get into how to structure your drinking bouts as it pertains to your sleep schedule, your workout schedule, and just day-to-day schedule. So, to mitigate a lot of the harm alcohol causes on your sleep, the number one thing you can do besides not drinking is to day drink, baby. And I personally believe day drinking is the best time of day to drink. Hopefully you got the bright sun shining on you. Think about the things that come with day drinking. You got some concerts, festivals, you got the beach, Cinco de Mayo, bright sun shining on you, and then a lot of the alcohol is processed in your system, but you're still nice and sleepy by the time you go to bed. So less of your REM sleep is damaged, but you still have that kind of sedative effect. You had a full day, you're nice and relaxed, and you can kind of go to the bathroom, get some electrolytes in right before bed, which is something we'll talk about during our hydration section. But day drinking has a negative connotation to it. I don't mean day drinking as like a functional alcoholic would. I just mean that instead of having a drinking occasion with your friends at night, having a drinking occasion with your friends during the day. You may get less done during your day because of this, which will make you feel less productive. But if you have an occasion that's worth making yourself less healthy for, you might as well make it a little more healthy for yourself and get a little less done. If it's worth drinking that much for, you might as well, what's the difference of a couple hours of your day gonna make? And it'll be a lot better for your sleep. You'll miss a lot less sleep, and you'll be more energetic the following day, which will let you get more done tomorrow. So either way, you're kind of supplementing a little bit of time. You might as well just choose a little bit more time earlier and then spare your health a little more, if that makes any sense. So day drinking is huge. Plus, I feel like it's safer in the sense that, you can see more. You have people awake who can give you a ride, so you don't have to drink and drive on your own and, potentially get yourself into some legal trouble or harm somebody else. But yes, I'm a big advocate for day drinking. I think it's awesome. And if you do drink at night, then you might find it pretty beneficial to call the night just a little earlier. You don't need to keep going into late hours of the night or keep the party going. This is something Dr. Mike Israetel speaks of. What exactly at 1, 2, or 3 in the morning are you really going to miss out on when everybody's starting to get really wasted? You'll just probably miss some puking, some emotional displays of some sort. If you can get back home at a decent time, maybe get a meal in, maybe get a little bit of hydration, and hit the hay a couple hours earlier. Those couple hours will make a difference. Those will be that much more REM sleep, however decreased the original amount would have been, than you would have staying out way later into the late hours of the night. You don't have to keep the party going, and if you end the night early, that'll be less drinks you feel pressured to have. So far we got day drinking, and if you do drink at night, just maybe end the night a little early. Call it a little early, you'll save money, you'll save your health a little bit, and you'll get some extra sleep, and thus a little more energy the next morning. I also want to say that it's important to drink for all the right reasons, so you can cut down on frequency of drinking by not drinking to cope with stress. If you had a bad day at work, just deal with it. It'll make when you drink for a fun reason that much more enjoyable. Trust me. You want to become better at dealing with stressors, not use tools to get you through stressors. You want to be the tool. You want to be the Swiss Army knife of your own story. You want to be good at overcoming those obstacles. You don't want to use alcohol to cope. That's wasted calories. That's, wasted liver damage being sustained, wasted gains. You don't need the alcohol to cope with stress. You have a natural system built into your mind to adapt and overcome stressors. It's called neuroplasticity, baby. And you want to use alcohol as a celebration, a super awesome, fun little thing that you can enjoy here and there on occasion, maybe at the end of your week, maybe every other week, maybe once a month. But just remember you want to drink for the right reasons. You don't have to have one with every meal. You don't have to hit every happy hour you see. Just remember to make it worth it. That is one thing that has been immeasurably helpful for me personally. Another thing that really helped me maintain my health and gains during the drinking years of my life, which aren't over, but it was kind of been an arc. Like, you're introduced to alcohol, it's like this whole new world. Then you kind of have to sew that into a sustainable, productive, healthy life. My rule of thumb, the amount of alcohol you can escape relatively unscathed with is 2 drinks per week, 2 standard drinks. So like the drink in question can't be a 16-ounce glass of just straight up 50% alcohol whiskey. And it also can't be a shot of Everclear, because that's like super duper strong. That is way more than a standard drink. That's like 4 or 5 standard drinks. 1 Four Loko is not a standard drink. That's like 5 standard drinks. A standard drink would be a beer, a glass of wine, a finger or 2 of whiskey, a shot of hard liquor. That's a standard drink. And I would probably lean to the side of, a beer or a glass of wine for that standard drink versus the shot of alcohol or glass of hard liquor, because it's a small glass of hard liquor. I personally love me some beer. I like to enjoy it, kind of savor it, especially if it's in a context of like a treat. Usually if you're having 2 drinks a week, you're having 1 drink on 2 separate nights, or 2 drinks on kind of a casual outing or something at the end of the week, or just kicking back a couple beers to celebrate a full week of work or something along those lines. You don't really want to waste that enjoyment with a shot. Maybe you like to sip on some fine hard liquor, which I also do. I just kind of like to make it last a little longer, is all I'm trying to say. So if you do want to stick to the hard liquor and you aren't a sipper, then I would say make yourself a mixed drink with club soda and some lime. So some tequila, club soda, and lime, that is a seriously favored low-calorie option of my own and many others like me. Or, you can do a diet pop with a little vodka, tequila, or whiskey. So, a normal week, if I'm doing any drinking, I'm only having 2 drinks. Now, if there's a bigger outing, like I got some friends in town and we're hitting the bars, and it's unavoidable because I'm not going to sometimes I'll stand around the bar like as a designated drinker without any alcohol, but I understand wanting to do something with your hands. You want to have a drink in hand, in which case I would still avoid shots so you can make it last longer and enjoy your drinks. So if you're trying to watch the calories, I would say definitely sway to that club soda hard liquor mixture of some form, or just a nice beer, and have 3 to 5 drinks tops if you're having a kind of outing of a night, multiple hours. Maybe it's a sporting event, maybe it's a concert. I have a separate rule for concerts that I'll get to for a second, but a casual bar outing with the gang, maybe a 5-bar crawl, just limit yourself to 1 drink per bar and end the night at 5 beers tops. Try not to run that back multiple weeks in a row. If I'm doing a 4 to 5 drink weekend, I want to make sure it's once a fortnight, every other week, once in 14 days. That's kind of what I try to limit that to, that 4 to 5 drink range. Other than that, I will keep it to just 2 drinks, if any, per week. Then we got our concert allowance. Now, concerts, in my opinion, are one of the most fun things a person can do or experience. So I'm not going to try to be a killjoy with that. I know that it's fun to have some drinks and go to a concert because I love that. I try to limit myself to 9 drinks for a concert. In fact, I do limit myself to 9 drinks for concerts. Usually it's 7 or 8. Usually I never hit the 9 limit. That is, maybe a beer and 2 shots, maybe just 2 shots, maybe a couple beers before the concert, and just a couple while I'm there too to keep it going. So that usually doesn't amount to a whole lot. You don't want to be so sloshed that you're not feeling well or that you miss your concert or that you can't remember parts of your concert. You don't want to obstruct the experience at all. You just want to heighten it a little because concerts are so freaking awesome. And then just try not to drink too much after the concert. Maybe just have 1 nightcap as you and your buddies talk about how awesome that concert was, and then call it a night there. So, sometimes there are special occasions that merit a kind of mood where you can't even limit yourself to single-digit drinks. And in that case, I really got to advise that you stay under 14 for your own health. That's a pretty intense amount of alcohol in the liver. And that after that big night, so I'm talking like a wedding, maybe a farewell to a friend who's moving countries or states, you're not going to get to see them as much anymore. So like a farewell, like a really big deal. Maybe this is a big drinking holiday for you, like Cinco de Mayo. If traditionally you have a certain holiday that you really, really like to let loose and go crazy on, that used to be Halloween for me, and I definitely had to cut it back, and I successfully did this year, which I'm happy to say. But for those holidays, try to keep it to 14 because very few good things happen to your body, to the night, to your memory of the night, or anything after 14 drinks. Try to keep it to 14 or below and you'll be golden. And if you are at a wedding, maybe you're just doing beers. It's easy to not go over 14 beers because, there's so much fluid and carbonation to the beer. And you'd feel that damage. A good rule of thumb in life is most things that can be a blessing will let you know if you're doing too much. If you're eating too much, you'll get full. You'll start to get sick. You'll start to get fat. If you're working out too much, you'll start to get really, really tired during the times of day you're not working out, and your sleep will start to get obstructed, and you'll start to get more injuries. The same thing with drinking. Alcohol is a blessing because it'll let you know when you've had too much. You'll get hungover and your health will start to visibly suffer before you've gone terminal with your drinking habits and consequential health reactions. So, those are the different brackets of drinking allowances for the appropriate occasions. Now I'm going to talk about scheduling your drinking around your workout habits instead of just your weekly and sleep habits. So the best way to limit the damage to your gains while drinking is to schedule your routine around the drinking for that week. So what I mean by this is if you're somebody who only works out 5 days a week or less, you want your drinking bout to be in between rest days. So if you work out Monday through Friday, drink Saturday night. If you do Monday through Thursday, do it in between Friday and Saturday or Saturday and Sunday, or just, during the day Saturday so that you don't have a lift you're doing that day. If you go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, same thing. Do it like Saturday, or bunch one of those workouts together so you can do it on Friday, have Saturday to recover from the bout, and then, you know, you can make it to church on Sunday. But the reason to do this is so that you're not behind on recovery. You don't really want a super duper intense workout that is pivotal to your gains, your goals in whatever domain, whether it's powerlifting, sports, bodybuilding. Like, you don't want a huge, like, mass gaining, really good workout to be followed up by a big night of drinking, because you will not be reaping all those rewards. If you just hit a crazy PR or made a lot of strides in powerlifting with, you know, a new heavy single, you don't want to be rewarding your body right away with alcohol, because it'll kill the neurons and that muscle memory will not be as prevalent, and obviously the muscle protein synthesis. So you want ideally 2 rest days, or as I like to do, a really light day that's not so pivotal to my goals to be the day that I drink on. So for me, that looks like an arm day. I do biceps and triceps. The Arnold split is great for this. So you're doing, you know, small things like biceps, triceps, or your side delts right before a drinking bout. You know, you look really good, you're nice and pumped, but it's not like you made so many strides during this workout that it would be a travesty to drink the night of and, you know, not reap any of those gains, because, like I said, your testosterone will suffer by virtue of, you know, the actual chemical lowering your testosterone, and you're getting less sleep, and less sleep gives you less recovery, which means less gains the following week. So definitely bracket that drinking bout accordingly so that you're not inhibiting recovery. And obviously always try to drink a little bit less so that you don't have that intensity factor driving down your gains and breaking down your muscle fibers. If you're somebody like me who does a 6-day of the week bro split type of routine, I still would do it on a day where you have a smaller workout, like not as important to your overall goals. And then the next day, if it's not going to be a rest day, have it be a muscle group that you have a really genetic advantage on. For me, that's back. So if I drank Friday night, I wouldn't be losing a ton of gains because I only hit arms, which is a small muscle group, which requires a lot less to recover from and a lot less neural recruitment, you know, from your brain to just, you know, either curl or just do a tricep extension. That's not like a multiple joint movement like bench press, squatting, deadlifting, and rows. So I don't have as much to lose following an arm day. And then the following day, if I am hungover or just have a little less sleep, I can still get through a back workout if I want to. And honestly, still make some gains because my back is just naturally kind of my strong suit. This is an idea that I was initially given from Dr. Mike Israetel from Renaissance Periodization, and then I perfected through a lot of trial and error. This is the routine accommodation method to drinking. If you are cutting, remember, you are going to need a lot less alcohol to get yourself drunk. So I would stick to beers that you enjoy. That's an important one because a lot of people will say go to light beers. You can do that, especially if you enjoy the light beers. But remember, if your goal is to have a good time, there's a lot less alcohol in the light beers. You're going to feel a lot less from the light beers, so you're probably going to end up drinking more from the light beers. The light beers are also, as the name would imply, lighter, so they're a lot more slammable. You can go through them a lot quicker, which means they stack up a lot quicker. So it's all going to balance out. Whereas if you have a heavier beer, you'll probably drink it slower and then have less of those heavier beers, if that makes any sense. So if you can stick to some beers that you enjoy, just do a couple of them and they should add up kind of quickly on a cut. You should feel pretty good. And what I would recommend is just doing some spacers in between every drink. So for every drink, have like a club soda and lime or just some water, and then have your next drink. And like I mentioned earlier, the tequila, soda, and lime is my favorite combination to do on a cut because it tastes really good and it's pretty low calories. It'll have you feeling nice and spicy. And this should go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway just in case. You want to limit your mixed drinks because a lot of them will have a lot of sugar. I'm talking your old fashions, whiskey sours, margaritas, white Russians, dirty Shirleys, all the mixed drinks that don't involve a diet soda of some kind. Specifically, like like, you know, just a mixed, like a rum and Diet Coke. That's what I mean by diet soda mixed drink. Those are kind of fine. You don't want to have the caffeine in the mixed drink that late though, because it'll mess with your sleep. And a lot of bars, as you will find out, do not even give you that diet soda. They give you the full sugar, baby. So you are being deceived and you're stacking up calories without knowing it. Avoid the caffeine. Avoid the caffeinated beverages when you're nightly drinking. I should have said that at the beginning of the video because that's very important. You don't want to like be tossing and turning, unable to sleep. And even if you do fall asleep, your REM sleep and quality of overall sleep is going to be affected by that caffeine circulating in your bloodstream. But yeah, avoid those sugary drinks. No Smirnoff Ices, no Tweez. Just avoid those added sugar drinks. And you should be okay on a cut. You know, you can afford a couple cheat days, a couple fun nights, and, you know, enjoy your lean physique out in a social setting. That's huge. So for the damage that alcohol has on your testosterone, I would recommend natural supplements that boost your testosterone a little bit, like Tomcat Ali. It has been shown to improve testosterone. I would just have it a couple of days leading up to the drinks and a couple of days after the drinks, and then go back to normal. It's nothing like steroids. You won't stop producing testosterone from your nads or anything like that. I don't personally use that right now because I'm bulking. I have all the testosterone I should need. But, you know, if you're cutting and if, you know, you feel really tired after drinking bouts, I would suggest supplementing Tomcat Ali. Then, like I said earlier, for the liver damage, supplement a little milk thistle. And then for dehydration, have a little bit of electrolytes before you go out drinking and some when you get back from drinking, and then a little more the next morning. Particularly if you don't have problems with high blood pressure. If you do have high blood pressure, your relationship with salt is one that you and your doctor have to be a little more involved in. Salt is an electrolyte for those that don't know. And many of your electrolyte drink mixes that will actually help with hangovers will include salt. Lastly, for the damage that alcohol does to your gut microbiome, you're going to want to reinforce your gut microbiome with something like yogurt, particularly Greek yogurt or the skyr, just something with not a lot of added sugar, just some like straight up, you know, yogurt, Greek yogurt I like, or something like kimchi, just something that has, or kombucha, something that has, you know, your prebiotics in it, those little tiny guys that help around in your gut. You just want to replace those, reinforce your army to battle the alcohol in your stomach. Lastly, I just want to mention a couple cool things about alcohol. Alcohol is a diuretic, which is the kind of method behind how you get dehydrated so quickly when you're drinking. It makes you pee more, and so this does make you look more vascular and more lean while you're drinking. If you're somebody who has a really healthy diet, and if you're someone who keeps themselves at a relatively lean or low body fat percentage leading up to a drinking bout, you look pretty peeled once you start drinking. It's just like if you keep drinking regularly, if that intensity or frequency is really high, that's when you'll start to see some serious bloating, you'll get the beer gut. But if you're healthier for the 90%, 95% of the time, and then you drink, you're gonna look pretty peeled and pretty vascular when you are drinking. So that can make for some fun beach runs, some fun vacations, you name it. But to that point, it does dehydrate you really quickly. So that's where the electrolytes come in. The electrolytes help you hang on to that water. And a little tip is you will pee less throughout the night if you wait as long as you possibly can before taking that first trip to the bathroom of the night once you've started drinking. That's what we call opening the seal. And once you pee for that first time, you're going to start peeing a lot more. So if you can just hold it off, you'll limit the amount of times you have to pee throughout the whole night. So I'm going to wrap up this video by telling you guys my tried and true personal method for dealing with a hangover. So I start before I even go out drinking. I try to get a well-rounded meal of some proteins, fats, and carbs. And then I have the same thing when I get back from the night out. So 2 balanced meals to kind of soften the blow. That can be a difference between being hungover and not hungover, or hungover for 1 day and hungover for 2 days, is if I have those nice cushions to soak up some of the alcohol. Then I also have a little bit of water throughout the whole night, and some water when I get back, and some electrolytes when I get back from a night out of drinking. Then I also start my following day with some more electrolytes, and that's how I begin my day. I will usually have some coffee to deal with the fatigue. I personally do not drink any caffeine after noon because it messes with my sleep. But I do lead the day to kind of mitigate some of that fatigue that comes with not having a full night of sleep. And instead of having larger meals, I split my meals up into smaller, more palatable meals when I'm hungover. And this is the important part. So I like to, on days that I'm hungover, double up on long sleeve sweatpants. So I put on shorts, then a pair of sweatpants, then another pair of sweatpants, then I put on a long sleeve shirt and 2 sweatshirts. So I'm warm. And then ideally, this is on like a hot summer day. So all of my skin is covered. So the sun isn't baking those toxins in my skin and, putting me at risk for skin cancer or whatever. I'm shielded, but I'm getting some sunlight in my eyes. It's waking me up, fresh air. It's bringing me alive. And then I take a liter or 1.2 liter bottles of water. And it's important that I'm not trying to drown myself by chugging this bottle really quickly, but I go for a walk. And I'm walking out there, I'm sweating. If you're in an area where you can't sweat and you have a treadmill, go on the treadmill, maybe crank up the heat wherever you have the treadmill while you're on this walk. If you have a stationary bike or an elliptical, go at a moderate pace. I don't think if you have a real bike this would work as much because you'd have to go at a very ballistic pace to work up a sweat on a normal bike, or at least go uphill for a while. It's important that the movement you're getting in here is low impact because you have a lot of acidity and your blood pressure is lowered quite a bit after a night of drinking. So if you're doing like a really intense long run or sprinting, you're at higher risk to pass out, and you got that acid jiggling around in your stomach. That's gonna, you're gonna be on the bathroom. It's gonna hurt for the rest of the day. It's gonna be some very acidic poop. So I try not to do really intense workouts on days I'm hungover. I don't want to shake up all of those toxins in my body and create a little like nuclear bomb inside of my stomach. I would just want to sweat it out nice and slow, pretty hot outside. The clothes I'm wearing are shielding me from the sun. If it's a cool day, I'll stick to my treadmill, just walk on here for a while, and I don't go back inside until I finish that 1.2 liters of water. Then once I finish that water, I head back inside. So I've sweated out a lot of toxins through my sweat, and that's the body's natural detox system. And then I'll have like electrolytes, some fruits, pretty much all of the healthy things I eat in my normal diet, some cauliflower, and just pound my water the rest of the day. So I sweat out the bad stuff, replace it with good stuff. That is the body's natural way of detoxing. But remember to take this movement, this exercise, nice and slow. It really helps if you have a hot day, but make sure you aren't baking your skin in the sun. That's where the layers come in, and they'll just increase how much you secrete out the toxins. Then have a nice, warm, relaxing shower afterwards. You don't have to have a cold shower, because if you wake yourself up too much and stress your body too much, you're going to be fully aware of how miserable you are. You want to keep a level of kind of relaxation and recovery throughout the day. It helps to allow yourself a rest day when you're hungover if you can allow it in your routine. And walking burns a good amount of calories, so you'll be sweating off the toxins, burning the calories that you would have otherwise having an intense workout, and then just take care of yourself the rest of the day. So then, if I'm up for it, after that really low intensity cardio I do, very non-ballistic, I will, if I can, I'll choose to do also a low intensity workout, usually trying to stay in like the 8 to 10 rep range, not going for anything too exhaustive, not really training to failure, and not really going for crazy like 1 reps or anything of the sort. But just getting like the bare minimum maintenance in for things that come easily to me, like some back, some arms, some side delts, just a low intensity workout, continuing the sweat and replacing it with water and electrolytes. But if I got too bad a sleep or I'm feeling really bad, I will skip that workout and just stick to the walk and stick to the sweating, because I don't want to do damage to my body by really pushing myself on days where I'm already running really thin. And then after that, I'll just, chill on my couch, maybe watch some shows I've been behind on or some recommendations that I've been dying to watch, and just give myself a nice little day to relax and slowly ease back into it, tank a little bit of damage, reset, fire back at it the next day, baby. But thank you guys so much for watching. I know that this video got kind of long. I wanted it to be elaborate, and I wanted to use my personal experience to help some people who, like I said, it's not the easiest thing for adults to, conventionally socialize nowadays. So if you're gonna do it the right way, and that's what I'm here to help you guys with. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something and put these methods into practice, and I hope that they help you. I love you guys. God bless y'all. Peace out, and I will see y'all next time.